Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Confessions of an Autism Mom. Today, I have another special mom. Her name is Ashley. And y'all, we had to do this one again because I don't know what happened to the original one. So, this is our second take, and we're going to present it the same way we did the first time, minus us being together. So, Ashley, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. Just got a little
All
background
right.
noise.
That's good. And how is Joshua?
He's big. You hear him in the background. He's
Yes,
counting.
I do. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and jump right on in today. Can you start off by sharing a little bit about your journey with your son and autism?
Well, our journey started 2 years ago, and I found out he was diagnosed with autism and global developmental delay on August 10th of 2022. But I've always had my suspicions, just that motherly instinct when he was basically when he turned one, or prior to that, like when he was 7 months and he wasn't walking or
Uh-huh.
crawling, and all the other kids in his infant class they were crawling, and he was just sitting there looking. And they talk about like you're not supposed to compare your kids to other kids. Your kids develop at their own pace, but I'm like, he need to be crawling. And he
Right.
didn't start crawling until he was like 10 months. And then he wasn't walking. And when he would go to like his pediatrician checkups, they were like, okay, he's not walking. You might want to put him in therapy. But, my mom was saying, boys, they kind of develop slower than girls, to give him time. So just wait. He'll start walking when he wants to. So we're getting to 1 years old. He's still not walking. He's crawling. He'll stand up, but
Mhm.
he wouldn't walk. And so me and his dad, we just decided to put him in physical therapy. And when I put him in physical therapy, the lady was like scooting behind him, and she
Uh-huh.
wasn't holding him, and he was walking. And she was saying, he knows how to walk. He'll just do it on his own time. And then the following week, his daycare wrote on like his daily report saying he's walking, but I didn't see
Yeah.
it. And so when we was at my sister's house, we was waiting to go somewhere, and he wanted some little bite muffins. And I remember my friend telling me how what when he started walking, his family like convinced him to get up and walk with some food. So I held the little bite muffins out, and he got up and walked over to me. So he started walking, and then he's not talking now. He was saying a few words, but then it like stopped. It's kind of like I don't know anything now. So
Yeah.
um I got concerned, and then you start Googling things. And Google, that's like the big diagnosis page. And then I start
Yeah.
seeing TikTok videos of parents talking about signs and symptoms that they saw when their child was little. And I do remember like he did used to do the head banging when he
Uh-huh.
was in his high chair. And he did used to flap his hands. But I just thought that was just like a typical kid thing. Like I didn't like what babies do. So I didn't really think of that until I started seeing the videos, and I'm like, yeah, I think he's autistic, but I was like, I'm not gonna have those thoughts in my head. I'm just gonna wait
Right.
and see. And so we transferred him from his previous daycare to to a new one because he
Mhm.
was having issues at his daycare. So it was like, okay, maybe a change of scenery will motivate him to talk. And they did like their developmental assessments. They do them like quarterly, and he didn't pass it. And they use the CDC chart to go off of that, the developmental chart to go off of that. He didn't meet any of those milestones, not all of them.
Where cuz my baby daycare, they didn't do that. Like they just was like, "Oh, he's doing this," and he's like, they were complaining about him.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like it was never like a solution,
Hmm.
or we did this, or we tried to test him. Like they just complained, like,
Right.
"Oh, he's walking over the kids and he had to sit in a high chair. They had my baby in a high chair. I think I told you that.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Yeah, like they would keep him in a high chair because they were saying that he was walking over to other kids, or he
Mhm.
would like grab their food out of their plates, things like that, which I thought was like crazy. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
So
glad that you did have a daycare that supported and informed you, somewhat.
yeah, they were very informative about the developmental milestones. So after that, I was like, let me just go ahead and get him tested.
Yeah.
So his pediatrician, she gave me some referrals to call, and so I reached out to the psychologist, and the initial assessment was like over the like video chat, and
Mhm.
they just asked me some questions, and then they said the next step was that it was going to be in person, where he would have to come in and they would conduct the assessment. And at the time, prior to that, they were saying like the assessment was going to be like $1,400 or some dollars out of
Yeah.
pocket. I'm like, I can't afford that.
Right.
So I kind of waited. He was already in speech.
Uh-huh.
He was in speech therapy, and then when I did the assessment again, tried to do the assessment again, they were saying, okay, it's looking like it's going to be about 700 and something dollars because you're close to meeting your deductible. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I can afford to pay $700 out of pocket. So
Yeah.
he took his assessment on July 5th, and it was horrible. Um, he kind of didn't really interact with
Uh-huh.
the evaluator. And I just had to sit there and observe. They was like, if he comes over to you, don't interact with him, don't say anything, just sit there. And I kind of thought it was odd because I'm like, you might not see the same kid, or you might not see any type of development with him with me sitting in here, but
Right.
that was their protocol for that. And just some of the things that he was doing, I'm just thinking like, okay, yeah, this test is not going to turn out well. And
Yeah.
then they called me on, they scheduled the appointment for August 10th, and that's when they told me of his diagnosis. And the psychologist, he was like, so how do you feel? And I thought it was nice because I'm like,
It
okay, that's
was.
interesting that you asked me, how do I feel? Because this is a life changing event.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I think I've already prepared myself for the answer, even though I was hoping for something different. I had
Yeah.
already mentally prepared myself for that diagnosis. And I just have to get prepared for the next steps because you're already in speech therapy. So, what else can I do?
Right.
And so he was very helpful. He put in there some advice as to how to apply for Social Security benefits, and he was saying, "Do babies can't wait?" But he was almost 3,
Okay.
so and babies can't wait.
Stops at 3.
Yeah, and they wouldn't answer the phone.
They
So
are horrible.
yes, yes. They would not answer the phone. And I'm like, you know what? I have good insurance. I'll just keep using it on my insurance
Right.
plan. And I'll just, if I have to pay out of pocket for certain things, then I'll just make it work because it's expensive. And
It really is. It's very expensive. I know. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it. I know with my recent scare, like Aiden's specialty visit would be $40, like for speech and occupational. And we go 2 days out of the week for both. And then for ABA, 5 days out of the week, it would have been, I think she said 50 or 40.
mhm,
I can't remember, but I was like, yeah, we're going to have to work something out. But it ended up working out. But insurance is very
it
expensive.
is. It
And
is.
then I do want to backtrack. I think you had a really great psychologist because mine just gave me paperwork and was like, here, read over this. And here are a list of facilities that you need to call because when we went in, she was already watching him like through a camera up
Mhm.
front. And we probably were only in that room probably like 5 minutes. And she was like, yeah, he has autism. She was like, I'm gonna do a couple of more tests just so I can have it, But she wasn't like, she didn't have any sympathy, like
Yeah.
wasn't empathetic at all. It was like, let me do my job. The most I can do for you is to have your paperwork ready by Friday. I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday, so that I could go ahead and get him, in his services. But I do like the fact that somebody asked, like, how did you feel and were you okay?
Yeah, they didn't treat me like, oh, it's just another patient that we got
Yeah.
coming through here all the time. They actually made me feel like an actual human being, and that I do have
Mhm.
emotions behind that, because we all, like any parent, when they give birth to their child and they have a healthy pregnancy, and I carried him for 40 weeks and 4 days, no issues with my pregnancy,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking like, okay, what did I do during my pregnancy? What happened? Okay, I did take Tylenol, and then you start seeing those Tylenol
Yeah.
ads and that settlement talking about if you took Tylenol when you were
Right.
pregnant, that could be the reason why your child may have autism or developmental delays or disabilities. And then I'm like, okay, I did take that at the beginning, but it's not that. And then you start thinking about the formula that you feed the babies, because I did breastfeed in the beginning, but my milk supply dried up, so he had to be on formula. And
Yeah,
it's like,
that happened with me too.
and then they start talking about the heavy metal being in the formula, and that could be a reason why. So all these things start playing back in your head, like, what did I do wrong? But you didn't do anything wrong. It's just,
Yeah.
as they say, it's genetic. But we
Yeah.
really don't know. We really don't
No,
know
no.
where it
I
comes from.
I I think genetics is the easiest thing they can give us right now.
Right,
I That's my opinion. I don't like to talk about it, but my channel is Confessions of an Autism Mom, and
right,
these are my thoughts. I feel like genetics is easy to pass to us. It's
right,
really like, let's give them something so they can go ahead and be okay. But I always think about like the food. I think about food more than anything because I
right,
know for my baby, he was eating like, it wasn't me, it was them. But my baby was eating food like early on, like 6 or 7 months. Like, I'm FaceTiming him from work and he's like eating chicken. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Things of that nature. So I always like, not blaming anyone, but I always think back to that.
right,
I also had to give him Similac as a like extra supply because I wasn't producing that much and he was
right,
hungry. So I always think of like environmental things like that. So,
right,
and I got into it with a lady on social media because she said that it was selfish for me to be trying to think back in the past of what I did wrong. And I just feel like that's a natural reaction for moms
right,
to just go back. Like, to me, that's selfish if you're not trying to think about what happened or if you did something wrong. I'm
right,
not blaming it on my baby. It's just I'm trying to figure out,
right.
what's going on. So
That's a natural instinct and reaction that any mom
yeah,
would think. I mean, it's just logical. We're always going to
yeah,
think back to, oh, what did I do? That's just like, even if you go into early labor, you'll think about some of the things like, okay, well, what happened? What triggered that? And
right.
things. But I just think it's just ignorance on some people's behalf when they make comments like that, or they just may still be in denial. That's just my opinion.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, girl, you sound like the selfish one for not wanting to really get a full understanding. So I know that you're now a single mom. Like, what challenges do you face?
Everything is on me, financially. Um, he's on my insurance. He was on it when me and his dad worked together. Um, but I have to take him to school every Monday. I have to. I thank God that I have amazing administrators that allow me to leave my job early just to get him to occupational therapy. Um, because you have some jobs with supervisors, they're like, oh, you're gonna have to use your time. I don't have to use my time. So every Monday I have to make sure that he gets to his occupational therapy appointments. I have to right now he don't even want to eat food that I cook. He gets in those phases. So like he's stuck on Chick-fil-A. He's asking for Chick-fil-A every day. The Chick-fil-A costs a lot of money.
And it
Um,
does.
you want Zaxby's and you want this, and it's like he gotta eat because
Right.
if I bring him home and I cook something, I know either
He's not gonna eat it.
he might eat it, but then again, he might pick over it and play over it. So it's like that's expensive. You know, just everything is on me, and it's a struggle, but somebody has to do it. I can't depend on anybody to do it because it's just me.
Yeah. And outside of like how's the dad? How's your support system overall?
Um, well, most of my support system is back home,
Okay.
so I don't really get that much support. I do have a friend, like she'll get him sometimes. Like if I have to stay after for work, she'll go and pick him up from his aftercare. But I try not to overdo it
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, that's my kid, and you don't want to burn bridges and feel like, oh, they're always asking me for something and stuff. So like sometimes I have to be like, hey, I can't stay. I don't have anybody to watch him. Or there's sometimes I have to bring him with me if we have
Right.
something that's after work and I have to stay. I have to go and pick him up and bring him with me. But most of the times I don't really have that much support that is up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Um, as far as like parenting, of course, when they're in our little tummies, we have a way that we're like, I'm gonna do it like this, and I'm gonna do it like that.
Right.
How has your parenting changed from what you thought it was gonna be?
Ooh. I think you got to teach yourself patience. Um, way more patience than with a neurotypical child.
Right.
Um, because especially with, with their child and then they're nonverbal.
Yeah.
Because you have to learn to not get frustrated, even though that's easier said than done. Because I do get frustrated at times, and I'm learning patience, and that's something that I struggle with. I struggle with that. Um, that's something I continue to pray about, especially with him because he's learning this world. He's trying to figure it out, and he can only vocalize in his own way.
Right.
Um, but he still gets disciplined because I'm not one of those parents that's going to use autism as an excuse for him to be scratching, biting, hitting, kicking, doing all of these things that he's not supposed to be doing just because he can't verbally tell me everything that he needs and he gets frustrated. You're gonna learn that's not the way that you're gonna handle those things. You can't do
Right.
that. And so gentle parenting, it doesn't work in this household. Um, so
Mine
uh,
either, because he ghetto. He's
right.
messed up.
So it might work in other people's household, and kudos to you. I wish it could work over here, but it don't work over here because this is a city over here. Uh, not with this little boy.
Yeah, it
So
don't work in this house either.
mm-mm,
I
um,
I try really hard, but he don't let me. So hey,
mm-mm. And I tried to do the guilty dancing, but you don't respond to that well. So then I got to take it to another level, and but it's cool because now you understand that I mean business. So does he get popped and does he get whoopings? He does, and I'm not beating or abusing my child, but
Yeah.
spare the rod, spare the child. And so but he's learning, like, you can't go out in public and think that this is okay, especially when mommy's not around. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching him now so he won't grow up to being like some kids that I do see. I'm like, hmm, um,
Yeah. Because you are an educator, so you see it.
yeah, yeah. And I do have some kids, and I've had some kids that's on the spectrum, and I've seen how they were in other teachers' classrooms. But when they was in my room, they know I don't play that. So
Right.
you gonna come in here, sit down, do your work. I'm not. I don't care what your disability is. You know how to act. And
Right.
I think one thing about people that's on the spectrum, especially kids, they're so intelligent and they know who they can play and who they can't play.
Right.
And they're very observant. That's one thing that they'll do. Like, you may think that they're so quiet. No, they observing the scenery to see what they can and can't get away with, and that's what
Exactly.
my child does.
Oh, yes. I don't even know. Like, I call it my son checks my temperature. You already know. You are around us a lot. Like, you already know how Aiden checks my temperature, and I have to really go there.
Yes,
And I don't like that parents use that as an excuse because they're on the spectrum.
right,
Because I can tell the difference with Aiden. Like,
right,
I know when it's a meltdown because you're overstimulated or it's something going on with your sensory. And then I know when you're being a toddler and you're not having your way.
exactly.
Um, we get discipline around here, like, and it
Yeah,
ain't gonna stop because
no,
I don't want you to go, like you said, I don't want him out in public or at the schoolhouse, like doing things, and
right,
they may not handle it the way that it should be handled, then I got to go handle them. And this all could have been solved if I would not have used autism as an excuse for
right.
his behaviors. And I think a lot of parents, like, I see stories and I read stories, and even on TikTok, I listen to stories, and I'm like, that ain't cool, but that's your household.
Right.
You, whatever works for you works over there, but not Aiden. And even recently, girl, Aiden was in the classroom throwing chairs and just passing out like crash outs.
Yeah.
King crash out. And she was like, oh no, wait till he calms down. And then once he does like a regular activity, we'll get him to clean up. And I'm looking at her like, who's about to wait for him to do something
Exactly.
correct? Like, that makes no sense. And the reason I say this is because they say autistic kids think about things differently than we think about things. So
Right.
in my head, I feel like if I continue to let you do this, and then when you do something right, I'm like, let's go clean this up. In your head, you thinking that you're right. Hey, all this,
Right.
like, that's how I look at it. You're thinking that you're right in that behavior. No, let's go ahead and check this right now because
Right.
you're not about to be a crash out in anybody's space anytime, anywhere. And I believe in discipline. I'm sorry.
And plus, we raising black boys, black men, so they already have a target on their back. So I'm not even trying to set you up for any situation that you can get in to
Right.
where things can go to the next level. So no, we don't. Gentle parenting don't work over here.
It don't work. And I call Aiden, you already seen Aiden try to manipulate me. That's a little mass manipulator. And I just I be over it.
Right.
Like, You're not about to do that. You're not about to play with me. You're not about to play with your female teacher because Aiden listens to males.
That's how Silas is.
Like his behavior with males are totally different when it's with me. And I'm your mom. Like you're not gonna play on me like that.
Right. I don't know if
So
you like to try their mamas.
I know, like I'm here with you all the time. Like this person
Exactly.
will literally leave you for dead, and you want to behave with them. That's how I feel. Like you okay, it's cool. Yeah, but I have a little manipulator. He's very smart. Like even like at ABA therapy, they have to tell people like, don't come in here telling him he's cute or oh,
Because
because
they know.
the moment they do that, Aiden has to get another RBT because he know he can play on them.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
yeah. So what have you enjoyed the most about your journey?
It's it's an emotional roller coaster, but I love it because just seeing those small little developments just makes you so happy. Like just this past weekend, he spelled his classmates' name with his letters.
Oh,
And I'm like, okay. And then he spelled his name with his letters and
uh-huh.
he spelled Nissan. I'm
Because he
like,
loves cars.
he loves cars. Um, and just hearing him count to 100 forward and backwards, saying his letters forward and backwards, saying his letter sounds and his colors. And it's like, okay, I'm saying that you are talking,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want you to talk more and say more words.
Right.
Um, but it's like just those small milestones and getting him potty trained. I thought that was going to be the hardest thing, especially like in those support groups that we're in. And I see like comments about how some of the parents are saying they have 10-year-olds that's still in diapers. And I'm like,
Yeah,
and their kids nonverbal. And I'm like, I pray that that doesn't happen with me. And he's fully potty trained. He goes number
that's
one and two
good.
to the bathroom. He'll tell me if he needs to go. And now he's getting to the point now where he's going on his own without having me stand right there.
That's good.
So it's just the small milestones that I see at home and him interacting with other kids, because at first he'll look at you like,
Who are you?
yeah, and if it's too many kids over there, he'll walk off and go do something else. And now he can parallel play, or I'll get a note from his teacher and saying, "Oh, he did a floor puzzle with one of his buddies in class." And I'm like, "Okay, you're doing something with a classmate. That's
Yeah.
that's a growth."
Yeah.
I love that because I do want him to have friends,
Mhm.
and it's so hard to find, because our classmates, they got babies and their babies graduating high school, so
Okay.
saying
We are
the
the late bloomers.
right. Or we got friends that just don't have kids, so it's kind of
Right.
like you don't really have that many mommy friends, and
Right.
the autism community is so small. And like when you do meet some of the parents, it's kind of like, and you try to set up play dates with them, sometimes those play dates never happen. And
Happen.
it's okay because and you can't get mad because it's like, I know what you're going through.
You're right. First of all, I want to applaud him on his growth as friends because I know this past summer when we went to the pool, him and Aiden did play
Yeah,
together,
they
which was
did.
shocking.
Because they
um,
used to just do their own thing, but they
yeah,
knew they
like
were there in the same room with each other.
yeah, but yeah, they normally they were there together, but they like you say did their own thing. But
Right,
this summer with the pool, like we actually saw them interact with each
right,
other, and
right.
I was very proud of both of them at that moment. The mom thing, I, I was talking to this. about this with my mom because I was like, people are always asking for autism moms, like friends. But then when you reach out and say, hey, where are you? It's like you don't get a response. So it's like, what are you looking for? Like, are you looking for an aesthetically pleasing family? Or are you like
Right.
genuinely looking for a family that has a child on the spectrum that actually wants a play date? Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because I've reached out to a few girls and they'll like read my message, but it's like, you just posted you looking for mommy friends. Like, I'm not
Right.
pressed for no
Right.
friends.
Right.
Let me go there. Like, I'm not pressed for mommy
Right.
autism friends. Like, if I make them, I make them. If I don't, because I feel like I have you, and then I have another mom, that I
Right.
communicate with a lot. So I'm not pressed. But at the same time, I do get excited when I see other moms say, oh, I'm looking for other autism moms. So
Right.
our kids can be friends and we go on a play date. But then when I write you, you're reading the message and not responding, which I feel like I'm a good look, but it's like, what are y'all looking for when y'all looking for friends? Because I
Right.
feel like if I say I want an autism mom friend and somebody reaches out to me, I'm responding when you want to go. And then I got another friend that got a son too. I'm gonna tell her to come,
Right. Right. And
So
it's hard because like he got his birthday coming up.
right,
So and I want to do a fifth birthday party. Of course I'm gonna invite his classmates, but it's
right.
like you wanna have other kids there because some people they'll say they'll show up, you spend all this money and then it's only two kids that show up.
Yeah.
And so I think the community that is there, but I think we're just so overstimulated and overwhelmed with our own lives and
Yeah.
dealing with our kids. It's kind of like, I don't know. I think sometimes some parents can be embarrassed,
Yeah.
but it's like we're going through this together.
Right.
Yours probably ain't probably your whatever issues that you see with your child that you may think is over the top. It's probably way less than what my child is doing.
Much
Mine is probably top tier and way over yours, but we're all like just gotta.
fighting this together.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, I can see it from their perspective, but I do be like, I was hoping we could get a little bonding time with the kids.
Yeah.
So, because you know, if you had like we have friends that either don't have kids or they don't have kids that have special needs, so it's kind of like they'll never understand how we feel and when we vent about other things because they haven't lived that. They don't really
Right.
understand that. They don't live that day-to-day life of what we go through. So it's kind of like you kind of do want like that support
Mom.
in that
Yeah.
village, and the village is very small. So every time I meet a parent out in public and they tell me that their child's on the spectrum, I'm like, I light up because I'm like, okay, I can talk to somebody about my
Right.
experience and they can tell me about it because I've learned so much about a lot of the resources that's out there that I didn't even know about. Because right now he's in he's in the local school district's special education pre-K. I
Yeah.
didn't know he could have gotten in at 3, but
Right.
I didn't know that until I spoke to another parent whose child is on the spectrum and their child went through that program. And they was like, yeah, you could get him in at the age of 3. I'm like, I didn't know that because it's hard finding daycares that will take kids that special
With
needs
special needs. Yeah.
because they don't want to understand it or they don't have
The
the
resources.
staff to that are trained
Yeah.
to work with our babies, and so they
Mhm.
kind of pass it off as a behavior issue when it's really not.
It's not. You just don't have the resources or the
Right,
staff or the trained staff to like help my child. And I
right,
remember I was talking to Miss Peters about that, and I was telling her how I hate the daycares up here because like he went to three different daycares and they all had an issue with him.
Right.
And she was expressing to me like, well, they were supposed to have Babies Can't Wait, and it was two more other programs she said that was supposed to be at the school. And she was even telling me Marcus came down to the daycare to help train her staff.
Right.
And I told her they don't have none of this at these daycares anymore. Like,
Mm-mm.
I don't know if they don't know about it or if they just don't care because cost. I don't know, but I told her nobody ever offered me Babies Can't Wait. I told her I had to do that myself, which was a horrible experience. They said nothing about Marcus, and now that I work at Marcus, I do know that they go to different cities with their staff
Mm.
and like help. Like, I do know, that much. So I don't know. Daycare was a bad experience, and if and when, which probably will never happen, I was to have another baby, even if the baby was like atypical, I wouldn't let my baby go to daycare.
Right.
Because if you don't have the passion for a child that has special needs, like I know you don't really have it for my atypical
Right.
baby,
Right.
so yeah, it just wasn't a good experience.
Yeah. And
So
I love his aftercare because
okay.
they do have kids that are special needs. And one of his
Mhm.
teachers, she came up to me last year and she was like, I'm just so intrigued about learning about autism. Like she said, she's been looking at
Oh,
videos, getting books, like studying things to how to, try to have
yeah,
resources in the classroom. And I appreciate that because you can have some teachers that just like brush it off and not really care. So I do appreciate the fact that she actually tried that, she educated herself
so
about autism so she can know how to deal with them in the classroom.
that's amazing. We love teachers and
Yes,
professionals like that.
right.
What advice would you give a new mom on the journey?
Um, don't be too hard on yourself. If you get frustrated, it's okay. That's human nature. It's okay to cry. It's okay to scream. It's okay to want to not deal with anybody. Um, if you have an opportunity with someone that you trust to have a mental break, and like if you have that support nearby, and you can send your child with like a friend that you trust or a family member that you trust with them, which I know we don't really trust anybody with our kids outside of ourselves and our moms and
Right.
stuff. um but if you do have somebody that you trust, take that break. um have self-care. And I have to practice what I preach, because sometimes, well, I'm not even gonna say sometimes, I always put myself last with everything.
Yeah.
And it's it's when you finally get that moment, take advantage of it. That's even if you just want to sleep all day. Go to
Yeah.
sleep. Sleep all day. Um, don't beat yourself up, and don't compare yourself to other parents and other kids and other autistic kids' journeys, because
Right.
everyone has a different journey, and your child is going to show their growth and development when it's their time to do it. Just keep advocating for your babies, because we're their biggest advocates. Half of the times we're their only advocates and their only cheerleaders. And just know that you're doing your very best at what you're doing with the minimal resources that we do have access to, because this is a growing situation. um, Especially with us with having COVID babies, I've seen a high increase of diagnosis of autism or ADHD.
2020. Yeah.
Yes. So just don't beat yourself up. You're not alone. You may feel alone, but you're not alone, and you have a community that will support you.
And just fun. It's a community, but I always say like there's so many like other communities in the communities. And even I told a lady this that DM me, I said, you have to find a community that fits you.
Right.
Even
Right.
though it's the autism community, but you have groups, I'll say groups where you can't really express how you feel without being judged. Then you have the ones where I, have more financial stability and they're meeting up, going out to eat, having things at the house, which I want to get into more with, you and another autism mom that I know. Like, I want to start having little things at the house. And then you have like groups like me, like, it's a judgment free zone. Say what you feel, and that's just what it is. Like,
Right.
and if you're judging that person, you're going to have to get out the group, but you have to find out what works for you and what group within that community works,
Right.
because all of them don't do the same thing, and they they really don't have the same support.
Yeah, it's some mean girls in the groups that me and
Yeah,
you on Facebook. They're like true mean girls,
yeah,
and we all dealing with the same
same.
problems, same thing. So I don't understand the judgment
Yeah.
because there's no perfect parent.
Mm-mm.
No perfect parent. So you had to learn just like this parent had to learn. So
Yeah.
there's no point of you casting judgment or making negative comments about someone venting because you
Right.
when you're signing up for the group, you're saying this is a safe space, but then you got 100 people judging you for
Judging
feeling a
you.
certain way or doing a certain thing when it comes to your child. So
Right.
it's like whatever. I just sit back and watch because I'm like
Yeah, I just look and I just be now if it's somebody that I'm just like, dang, y'all ain't have to drag her like that.
right,
I will personally message them and say, it's okay, which made me do what I'm doing to let people know, like, it's okay. Like, don't let those 100 people with that misplaced energy, because they probably need therapy to process
you know,
the thought that their child have autism. And look at me judging, but I don't care. I always say those people in the group that judge, like, I feel like they hate their life, because there's no
right,
way you should be coming at somebody that's going through the same thing that you're going through. Like, go get help. Like,
right,
accept your, like, I don't think, I'll be honest, and when I look at people's comments, I don't think a lot of parents really accept autism with their kids.
yeah,
And to me, it shows with the anger that they have.
yeah.
Like,
I feel like they're still in denial.
denial. And
Yeah,
your anger is misplaced at somebody who's actually comfortable with their kid being autistic, but not only are they're comfortable with sharing their true feelings.
right.
So
Because
I'm
it's probably gonna be some people once they see this, they're gonna have something to say. But I mean,
It is
hey,
what it is. Like, that's what this is about. Like, you're free to say what you want to say, and I don't like the judgment. I don't comment in any of them unless somebody's asking a question that I know the answer of. But
right,
when I went through it, and I was like, "Oh, y'all crazy."
right.
Like, this isn't a support group. This isn't a safe haven. This isn't a safe, like, it ain't nothing safe about
No,
them groups. But
not at
hey,
all.
yeah. So, what is your confession as an autism mom?
My confession is, if your baby want to just eat cupcakes, Doritos, chips, let them eat it. That as long as they're fed, let them eat what they want to eat because um, it's a journey with the food and like this one right here. Here is one day he didn't want to eat waffles all day. Okay, you eat your waffles all day. I make
Right,
sure I have enough waffles and syrup. Some days he might just want to eat little bite muffins all day and he don't want to eat nothing else. And I'm not I pick and choose my battles when it comes
right,
to food. As long as you're fed, I'm okay with that. So I let him eat what he wants to eat, and that's just how I roll over here in this
I'm like that too. If you want to eat grapes all day, baby, have at it. I'll go buy some more tomorrow, but
household. Right.
I'm not yelling about no food.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
Because
Go
I
ahead.
know I have a refrigerator full of food. Like it's options in there, and that's one thing I'm not about. I'm not about to argue. I argue with Aiden all day, every day. But
Yes.
food in a bath, that's where I draw the line. If you
Yeah.
want to go to bed itchy, that's your business.
Oh yeah, because this one right here, he didn't want to take a bath last. Okay, that's cool. That's
But
fine.
no,
You
you get one in the
know,
morning before you walk out
yes,
the house.
you gonna
That
get one.
and that's what I have to try to like get Aiden to see. Like, you just not gonna get a bath, but I don't have the bandwidth to do this with you right now. So if you want to
Right.
go to bed nasty, have at it. I'll wash
Right.
my sheets and call it a day. But yeah, wash your little hands and go to bed.
Hmm.
That's how I feel.
And
So
just done with it because
so tell everyone where they can find you on social media so they can follow you all's journey.
you can find me on Facebook. It is Ashley Shanae. Instagram curlyfro89, and I think my TikTok is Ashley Shanae
It is.
1908. I can't remember. It's one either 1908 or 89. I can't remember. It's one of them
I'll
numbers.
put it in the description box so everyone can have it. And thank you, Ashley, for sharing your journey with us today and just being so open and vulnerable and letting people know, that they're not alone, but also things that they can go by. Like your advice will do wonders for many of women. So thank you again, and I will see you soon. And you all, thank you all for joining us, and we will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.